I'm here with Kenny Jackson, and he is the Senior Vice President of Economic Development, Governmental, and Regulatory Affairs for SCANA. How are you today?
I'm doing just fine.
And we're going to find out how the Columbia Urban League has impacted his life.
I'll be glad to. It was fall of 1975, my sophomore year in college, and I figured out a way to finance my tuition and housing, but I didn't figure out how I was going to eat. So I had to seek out a part-time job to get some extra money. And on the radio, I heard the Urban League was advertising for tutors for elementary school kids at a public housing facility at Colorado Manor. And so I called them and I went in for an interview. And I told the young lady, I said, I think I'm the best person for the job because I grew up in public housing and I could relate to the kids. And it ended up being a really good job for me. Enjoyed working with the kids. They were eager to learn.
And you were a tutor,
correct? I were a tutor.
Okay.
They would bring their homework in. I would check it and work with them on the math. And we had another young lady who worked with them on their English. So it really worked out well for me, and it helped me, of course, with my school expenses. So that's how I got started with the Urban League.
And what school did you attend?
I was at USC.
And what was your major at USC?
My major was finance.
Which brings you to?
Brings me to when I got to be a senior, I didn't think about it at the time, but I put the Urban League, of course, on my resume.
Yes.
And I was interviewing with Bankers Trust of South Carolina. And I got called back for a second interview, and the senior vice president who was interviewing me, he said, well, I noticed you did some work for the Urban League, and we do some work with the Urban League, so I called them and got a reference on you.
Wow.
And I am convinced to this day that's why I got hired at Bankers Trust of South Carolina, because I had done some work with the Urban League and working with the tutorial program, and that worked out great for me. And as you can see, that was the stepping stone into the corporate world, and now I'm a senior officer with SCANA.
And so tell us about your position at SCANA.
At SCANA, I'm Senior Vice President over Economic Development, Governmental, and Regulatory Affairs. And what that entails is on the economic development side, I work with the Commerce Department, the Economic Development Alliances, recruiting industry to the state to help bring jobs to the state.
Which is extremely important, especially for the state of South Carolina.
Exactly, and I love that. I love that part of the job. It's great because once you recruit industry here or a company comes here, you really feel good about the success of that recruitment. But I'm also over state, local, and federal government affairs, a lobbying group in the state and in Washington, and I also am over regulatory affairs, which involves working with the Office of Regulatory Staff and the Public Service Commission of South Carolina, who regulate our regulated businesses.
Oh, wow. You're a very busy man.
Most of the time.
You have 3 positions: economic development, governmental, and regulatory affairs.
That is correct.
Those are huge shoes to fill.
Well, I enjoy it, I have a good time, and work for a great company.
So if you can give any advice to any of the current program participants with the Columbia Urban League, what advice would you give them?
The advice I would give them is to work hard, be dedicated to what you're doing. There's no substitute for hard work. And if you're hired to do a job, do it. Like I was hired to be a tutor. I was there on time every day. I encourage the kids to follow that same regimen, to be there on time. And because we only had about 2.5 hours to work with them and to make sure we got everything done. But just be dedicated and work hard.
Dedication and work hard. So once again, I'm here with Kenny Jackson, and he's the Senior Vice President of Economic Development, Governmental, and Regulatory Affairs for SCANA, and the Columbia Urban League has had an amazing impact on his life. So we'll see you again next segment next week.
I am Kenny Jackson, and I am the Columbia Urban League.